Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday night. It's time to get that Friday feeling on the Bhoys bus. Welcome along, everybody. Hope you're all in a good mood tonight. And as you can see, it's just a dynamic duo that's on there. Usually in the Friday feeling, I've usually done a lot of shows with Logue Jr., but tonight I'm joined by the Wanderer, the bold traveller himself, Johnny Logue. Johnny, maybe else as you and I have been on screen together, but how you doing, mate?
It has been a while, Phil. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Yeah, I'm not wandering quite as far as I sometimes do. I've only managed to make it as far as London so far this trip. I'm on standby and haven't been a bit of a pain in the arse, but hey ho, there you go. Can't get exotic trips every time you go on a plane, can you?
No, that's true. But hey, you're on this bus. It's always an exotic trip on this bus, mate. So glad to have you on, mate. Glad to have you on this fine Friday evening. And glad to have all the viewers so far that have joined us. But yeah, before we go any further, of course, as I normally do, I'll just remind everybody, do all that good stuff. Helps us out and helps out algorithm CSC. So obviously hit that like button. Gets a bit more traction on YouTube. More people who are into Celtic podcasts will get it in their recommended videos if there's a bit of interaction on the video. Obviously, get involved in our comments tonight as well. Obviously, let us know what you're thinking ahead of the game tomorrow. And if you still want to have any chit-chat about the Lazio game, which I'm sure will probably come up at some point as well, because it's still fresh in the mind, sadly. Yeah, I'll probably mention. So, by all means, have your say about that. And of course, you can subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Yeah, we hit 4,250 this week. So, thanks to everybody so far who subscribed. But if you haven't done it yet, then why not join the rest of them? Hit that subscribe button. And remember, hit the bell notification. Then you'll be reminded when the bus is on the road. And of course, you can share the link of the Bhoys bus far and wide on all sorts of social media platforms. There's plenty out there to choose from these days. I always say, pick your poison with that one. Poison definitely being the key word when it comes to social media. And of course, as the logo's up there on the top corner, whatever side it's on, I always get it wrong. Piesports.com, use the code BUS1888 and get yourself a nice tasty 12.5% off your pastry orders. And with that said and done, yes, we shall get going. We shall get on this road because yeah, Friday feelings usually always about previewing the game at the weekend, and yeah, tomorrow we play Kilmarnock. Sensationally, hard to say this, but revenge is in the air because they have actually beat us already this season in the old Viaplay Cup. Our treble attempts were over before they even really started this season with that snidey game done at Rugby Park a couple of months ago. But yeah, we're playing them again in the league. Obviously, they haven't got the plastic pitch as a leveller, which is obviously going to help. Usually when these types of teams come to Glasgow, it's one game plan, Johnny. It's 10 men behind the ball and batting down the hatches. That's fully what I would expect, especially from a Derek McInnes team. Obviously, we've had obviously a few games this season at home. St Johnstone was a bit of a damp squib, obviously being a 0-0. The Dundee game was sprung into life midway through the second half, but it was kind of on course for a bit of a stodgy one. But hopefully tomorrow, and as I always say, I feel like I say this every week and I do the Friday feeling show, we'll talk about the game of the weekend. A wee early goal would be absolutely perfect for Celtic tomorrow, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it's the type of game and type of team where early goals are going to help you because that's going to hopefully draw them out a little bit more. Although, score an early goal, they might say, right, let's still try and keep it tight. Still really got the same game plan because we came here with the intention of trying to score one goal. Now they've scored an early goal, so we're looking for an equaliser rather than a jammy winner.
Yeah.
So the game plan doesn't change overly much. So yeah, draw them out a little bit, but I think we should still have plenty in the tank to extract our revenge. Although it's you call it revenge, but it's a different competition. Doesn't get you anything back. Just gets us. I'm not interested in the revenge, Phil. I'm only interested in the 3 points and taking that gap to 10. That's what I'm looking for tomorrow.
Yeah, because it is one of those. It's one of those situations again. We find ourselves where we're playing before them. The fixture calendar has shone upon us this season, even though most people would argue it hasn't. With the certain fixtures that have come out, but we've navigated them all pretty well so far. But in terms of the order the games are getting played in compared to last season, we are obviously getting a few games ahead of them due to their European schedule, their involvement in the League Cup, and yeah, this weekend again, it's one of those European ones that's caused it. And it's so crucial to just put that pressure on them because they have shown. I mean, last week as well, I always go into whenever it's a domestic weekend, I've always just got that mentality that they will probably win. So last week was a bit of a surprise. How much of it, our result, played a part in that? might be surprised how much it did, because Mark said it on the bus. At the 95th minute at Fir Park last week, they were, it would have been about 2:45 or something in at Ibrox, so they would have got the news that Celtic about to drop points here. They're ready to basically come out of the park in 15 minutes time, and then that news comes through that we scored, and it changes the whole perspective for them. And it wouldn't surprise me if that did have a massive impact last week. And and then this weekend we've got another chance to get another 3 points in front. I was going to we've got to be a bit respectful as well, because St Mirren are actually second right now, and that's of course they're playing on Sunday. But either way, as long as we extend that gap and put that pressure on, because it comes back to something that happened a few years ago, Johnny, during the infamous just before COVID happened, when Tavernier had made a comment about that team don't particularly like pressure. They don't like fans being on top of them and stuff like that. So it's so crucial that we make sure that any advantages we get, any chances we get to put the pressure on, just to keep them at arm's length. These are the weekends we've got to make sure we get it done, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that, actually, when you talk about the different playing before or after them. I remember being on with Bhoys not that long ago, just a couple months back, and we talked about this. And my opinion was I don't think it really makes that much of a difference. You get out there and you do your job, whether we play before them or after them. But I think last week sort of started to change my mind about that. I thought, because we did, obviously, we managed to get the win last week in the rather dramatic circumstances that we managed to do it. And I think Terry Robb on the post-match pish hit the nail right on the head when he said, if we'd drawn that game, Rangers probably go and win 2 or 3-0.
Yep.
But we didn't. We won the game, and we all know what happened. And the other side effect of that weekend was that a certain manager lost his job. So maybe I got that one wrong, and maybe it does make a big difference as to, especially if you've got a team like Rangers who have not been playing well. They don't seem to cope with the pressure, and since the start of the season, they haven't looked like they knew what they were doing anyway. So I think it obviously at this moment in time, with the level that the two teams are, it does make a difference, and that's why we've got to win tomorrow. Get it to a 10-point lead. Anybody who's interested in that Ranger job might look at it and think, 7-point gap I might just be able to live with. 10-point gap, fuck off. I'm not touching that. I'm not touching that because, and again, we said last year when Beale got the job, we were already, was it
9 in front,
9 points clear, and said, he'll be able to say, well, it's not down to me because I've not run the whole race. Correct. I only took the batting up sort of a quarter of the way through the season or whatever it was. But and I kind of thought, well, I could almost see his point, to be fair. I thought, he hasn't run the whole race and he hasn't quite run it. But he just kept losing ground, and didn't win any pressure games. And, well, you've seen what's happened. They've just decided 7 games in. We're not having any more of your Beale shit. You can go.
Yeah, I was going to say, Gaps was the opportune word last year, because he hammered that home so much. And so definitely get the win in tomorrow and put the pressure on and get that 10-point lead by this time Sunday. Yeah, indeed. So what we usually do is also we just have we don't sit here and go, I predicted starting 11s. I just usually single out just certain positions of note. And obviously with the goalkeeper situation, I found out last night, it was somebody in the chat confirmed that Joe Hart is suspended for 2 games. I don't know if it was a 1-game suspension or 2 games, but straight red equals a 2-game suspension. So Scott Bain obviously will be between the sticks tomorrow. Kind of shows where Benjamin Siegrist is these days. Didn't get registered for the European squad, and Scott Bain is now the second choice essentially. As 2 managers that have pretty much written off Siegrist. So that's quite a damning indictment of the boys, sadly. But last week when I did the fight film we'll talk about, obviously this is the game. Who was it we played again last weekend? Was it Motherwell? Sorry, it was Motherwell. It was Livy before. It was Livy got sent off Motherwell. And I was talking to Jonathan Boyce on here, and I said about, when it came to the goalkeeper situation, the thing that disappointed me was I felt like in the summer, we obviously did, it was a position that all of us knew that we needed to do something about. Many fans accepted that we needed to do something. Even my mentality was, Joe Hart, is he still good enough to be our keeper domestically? Yeah, I would say so. What I wanted to just see was a goalkeeper that would come in and would at least put pressure on him so that he knows that if he was to get dropped and this guy comes in, well, I could lose my jersey here, but ultimately my mentality as well with this one, Joe Hart knows that once this suspension is over, he'll come waltzing back in. But Jonathan put it back on me. He pushed back on one and said that he thinks that there's a chance with the previous that Brendan Rodgers has got with Scott Bain and how Craig Gordon was ousted when, again, a few years ago, most people would have been, I think it was Craig Gordon getting ousted by Scott Bain. Could we see history repeat itself? If Scott Bain comes in again tomorrow and of course we win the game, do you think he could hold on to the jersey a bit longer to keep sort of Joe Hart on his toes, essentially?
I don't think so, no. No, I think, to be honest with you, I'd be more comfortable with Joe Hart in goals than Scott Bain, if I'm being honest.
I'd rather have Joe Hart, no doubt about it. But just Brendan's previous,
no, I think he'll bring in. I think he'll bring Joe Hart straight back in. That's not to say I don't think we could have done with signing another goalkeeper. I think we missed out on a decent one. Dean Henderson going to Crystal Palace, and he's not even getting a game for them. I don't think. I looked the other week there when they were playing this, and he was actually on the bench, and I thought, I quite rated that Henderson. He was at Sheffield United on loan from Man United at Nottingham. I think we could have gone. I think he'd be a decent signing, but that's a different story. To answer your question, I think Brendan will bring Joe Hart in, back in. That's what I think, and that's what I hope as well. To be fair.
Yeah, because I think our first domestic game after this international break is Hearts at Tynecastle. So that's quite a feisty one. It was a spicy affair for Tynecastle. So yeah, we'll see in that one. But yeah, I just thought when Jonathan had said that back, I thought, do you know, it wouldn't even surprise me. Not that I want it to happen, but again, it kind of shows where we are goalkeeper-wise, that this is a debate we're having. So if we Siegrist, it's a real damning indictment of how far he's fallen in terms of that. Did we just literally sign Siegrist just to stop maybe Rangers getting him? Because they were definitely in the hunt for a goalkeeper that summer with the Alan McGregor situation where we thought he was retiring because he got a big send-off at the Scottish Cup final, and then we announced we signed Siegrist, and a few days later, suddenly Alan McGregor's signed a new extension there. So I wonder, did we just go down that route because maybe they were looking at him? But either way, he seems to have fell away and there's very little chance of him getting back in. But maybe in the January window, maybe it'll come around again about addressing the goalkeeper situation, because again, just somebody that at least, can put pressure on Hart if needs be, just so that he knows that if he does drop out the team for whatever reason, injury, suspension, it's not just going to be handed right back to him. You want to have competition, because when complacency sets in, whether it's football or any job at all, that's when mistakes happen. That's when you get lazy. And if there's somebody there that Joe Hart's looking over his shoulder all the time and thinking, okay, I've got a bit of competition, I could end up losing my jersey, that would be ideal. But transfer windows in Celtic, God, we hammered that one home all summer, but we'll deal with that in January, I'm sure.
Just a bit.
Yeah, but in the defence, obviously, we saw Carter Vickers come back on Wednesday night off the bench, and obviously the end of the game, he obviously gave the ball away. But up until that point, I felt he slotted in just like he hadn't been away. It was all, he looked absolutely fine in terms, because he came on, and again, the winner through the week was such a out of the blue moment, essentially, because we were in control of that game. But as he was on the park, I just felt like we'll be okay, because he was dealing with everything up until that point. And so sadly, it backfired him. But do you think I'd imagine Carter Vickers will get the start tomorrow, now that if he's been put on Wednesday. And also we're going to a national break anyway, where we're going to be not playing a game for the next 2 weeks or whatever. So I don't see any reason why not that Carter Vickers should come back in. Not that I think Nat Phillips was terrible in any way. I think he's been okay, other than his injury problems, because it's quite ironic, Johnny, that we signed this centre-back on a sort of emergency loan, essentially, to cover our defensive emergency. Then he himself has become part of the emergency. But overall, I don't think Nat Phillips has been awful. I don't think he's made many mistakes. But I would expect Carter Vickers to get the nod tomorrow. I don't see any reason why not.
Yeah, I think he'll get the nod tomorrow, because, like you said, they've got the international break coming up. I think Brendan will want to be trying to get some kind of competitive minutes into his legs before then, and then work on more general fitness during the anywhere during the international break? Are the States, are they playing anywhere?
So you cut off there, Johnny, just for a brief second as you
were talking. I was just saying, I think, I don't know how much you missed, but I think Carter Vickers will play tomorrow because I think Brendan will want to get
the United States.
Some amount of time in his legs. But is Carter Vickers, will he be away with the States this
I don't think he would have been called break? Up when being injured for as long as he was. I'd be quite surprised. I mean, I don't know for definite. Maybe they would have included him at the last minute in the event. He might become fit and available, but I would be quite surprised because obviously he was pretty much out from, what was it? I think Celtic, I think it was Aberdeen, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think Celtic would be quite happy for him not to have been included. But like I was going to say, I think he'll get some minutes, at least some minutes in tomorrow, and then work on general fitness during the international break. But going back to oh God, what's his name? The Liverpool guy,
Nat Phillips.
Yeah, I mean, like, so when we signed him, my mate, he's a big Liverpool fan, and he said he'll do all right for you, because he actually played quite a lot of games in the COVID season, and when Liverpool won the league and that, and he rates him. He says he'll do all right for you, and there's no shame not being able to get into his position at Liverpool when you consider what he's up against. Van Dijk. So I think he'll do all right for us. Whether we keep him beyond January is obviously the question. But
the way the deal's worked out, though, I think it's a case of both parties will review the situation. Because I think Celtic are looking at it from if all our centre backs are back and fit, then
we won't need him.
There's no point in keeping him for the rest of the year. But again, we'll see. So far, it feels like one centre back comes back and another one seems to get injured. It's like one in, one out at the moment.
Yeah, but I think on that point, that might have changed a little bit when we've seen the form of some of the centre halves. I think I'd quite like to keep him because if not, is it Nawrocki? Is that how you say his name?
Nawrocki,
if he's being considered to be the one who was signed to play alongside Carter Vickers, I mean, if he gets injured, we might want somebody like Nat Phillips to come back in and be the replacement, because you don't want to beat the guy up too much. And I did make the snap judgment on Starfelt. I was never Starfelt's biggest fan. I wouldn't say he was his biggest critic either, but I've made a bit of a snap decision on Lager Bielka as well, and that might be a bit harsh because he's different from Starfelt. The fact he's younger, he's not an international or a full international anyway, and I'm not overly convinced by him at the minute, and certainly not for this season. Maybe for next season once he gets a bit more experience behind him. But if we were to lose either Vickers or Nawrocki again through injury, I'd rather have somebody like Phillips beyond January to the end of the season than Lager Bielka.
Yeah, I'm still with Lager Bielka. I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about him right now. I'm kind of like, benefit of the doubt, he's only still technically in the door, but it is quite remarkable that Swedish centre back even took Starfelt's squad number after he left. And I'm like, are you trying to channel your inner Carl Starfelt here with some of the stuff that you're doing? Because I feel very similar to him as I do with Starfelt. I'm the same as you, where I wasn't really Starfelt's biggest critic. I would always try and look for the positives in him, but I did accept that he did have a few brain farts in him here and there. Usually when he dwelled on the ball,
usually when he tried to play football.
Yeah,
if he stuck to defending, he was fine. When he tried to play football, that's where we had the problem.
Yeah, 100%. We saw Lager Bielka at Ibrox, where we got away with it in the end with the VAR overturning the goal, but that was caused over him dwelling on the ball too long and not being aware of getting closed down. And we got away with it in the end.
Yeah, but he needs a serious wake-up call, that man does.
He does definitely. And but if that Phillips to say if he can stay fit, because he's the 2 injuries already since he's been here, then I think it's a hand. If we can keep him at the end of the season, I don't see any harm in it. And also a big shout out to James Grimes, who's just become the latest YouTube member on the channel. Thank you very much, James. Appreciate it massively. And while we are in the centre back department, I'm glad to see this name is coming up, because I was about to say, are fans ready to have that conversation yet? About this guy, about how good he's been. I think a lot of fans are find it hard to not accept really, but just like get their head around that this has happened. Is skills perfect? Well, no, not yet. But my God, compared to what you would have thought. I mean, think of the start of the season, if you were able to tell yourself that, by the way, Liam Scales would be in a position where he's effectively coming the first name on the team sheet with how consistent he's been so far. You know, he just sticks to the basics, I think, and does it well. Yeah, he's had a few heart attack moments out on the park where maybe, again, dwelling on the ball a bit too much. But again, when it comes to just getting the basics done and getting it clear, you can't really fault the lad at all. And something that we've said, Johnny, about Brendan Rodgers coming back, there's always players that he's got a track record of, you think they're essentially on the scrap heap, and he pulls a performance out of them, a consistent performance for the entire season. And I think all of us on the bus had different guesses of who we think would be that guy at the end of the year. We'll all be sitting there going, oh, I can't believe the season this boy's had. I was saying guys like Dyson Maeda, but I think at the moment, the way things are, Scales is Scales is definitely. Is it, are fans ready to have that conversation yet? How good he's been, and fair play, man. He has, because the boy didn't ask to be put in this situation, but he's adapted to it very well. He's just listened to Brendan Rodgers of what he's to do, and he's doing it, mate.
Well, listen, when we give praise when it's due, or criticism rather when it's due, you've got to flip that, and you've got to give the praise when it's credited. And me and Bhoys talked about it just before the Feyenoord game, and I think it was it the Sunday show, Sunday Blether, me and Bhoys done, and Bhoys brought up that very subject, and I did say he wouldn't be the first one to take advantage of a situation that arose, whether it be injury, illness, whatever, and go on to make a good career. And Scales, at the minute, we said what you need to do, you need to grasp the opportunity, grasp that nettle, and go with it. And up to now, I don't think anybody can argue that Scales is doing that.
Yeah.
Did any of us think he was going to become, if not first choice, because we all know that Vickers is always, while he's here, Vickers will always be first choice.
Yeah.
Or centre back. He's our main man. But who's the first choice to partner him? We didn't think it was going to be Scales. He was what, fifth? Maybe fifth at best.
Yeah, because
now he is being the man who's saying it's going to be me.
Aye, because Lagerbielke, Welsh, and Scales, so fifth choice. And then we've also still got Kobayashi luck in there, who definitely is Ray Luke's run, but that's 6 centre backs, and then Nat Phillips comes in. That's 7. You've got on your books.
When if you want to talk about, we talked briefly about, does Hart come straight back in for Bain? My answer is yes, because Bain hasn't done enough. And all right, and admittedly, 2 games. It's going to be 3 games after tomorrow. Up to now, he's not done enough for us to say, well, actually, he deserves to stay in there. Give him his shot. But his Scales has come in from out of the cold, if you like, as far as us supporters are concerned, and he has done enough to say, it's not fair to drop him. I don't care who we're playing. Because it's not just been in league games, it's been in Champions League games, and he hasn't let us down. So I think, we should be, if we're not ready, we should be. Scales is now, he's proven to be a success at the minute and well worth his place.
Yeah, Paul Dyke saying that tackle in the first half against Lads. I think it was Felipe Anderson breaking down the wing, and it was reminiscent of some of the slide tackles that Kieran Tierney used to just throw into people, where he would just go in, he'd strong, he'd win the ball, no fear at all, and that's what it was like, and it lifted the whole crowd, because the atmosphere on Wednesday night, many people have made comments about it, their theories as to why they think it was so flat and whatnot, but the first half, after we'd scored the goal, obviously it was jumping, but again, when Lazio started pressing us and killing the game essentially by holding on to the ball really well, we needed a pick-me-up, and that was a moment in the first half where, the whole crowd were right into it, and it was a fantastic moment. And I think it also helps as well when it comes to balance at the back, with him being left-footed. You get that perfect time. You get a right-footed centre-back and a left-footed centre-back, because remember, Kobayashi, the bold Kobayashi, was brought in to be the left-sided centre-back, and many people thought, well, he's going to replace Carl Starfelt, because he came in from the Japanese league and loves his Japanese league players. Starfelt has been playing on the left-hand side of centre-back, and that's probably one of the reasons why he had so many issues. So most people thought, oh, that's the move here, that's what's going to happen, but that could not be further from the truth. And he got Liam Scales. Yeah, Liam Scales has came in, and he's took his opportunity, and I'm glad to see so much love for Liam Scales in the chat. People need to be ready to have that conversation. He could be that guy. We get to the end of the season, he might end up playing like 30-something games this season, and he won't have looked out of place. He could very well. We'll all be sitting there going, what a season Liam Scales had, so hopefully, I hope it happens, because if that does happen, that means he's been brilliant, and it's worked out for us very well. So, yeah, fair play to the lad, and glad to see so many fans getting behind him. But yeah, let's talk about midfield, though, because obviously there is a glaring name that's been... It's a bit polarising right now, and it's amazing to see that this name is under question. But Rio Hatate, obviously he was out injured, he came back. People were quite critical of his performance against Feyenoord, but again, with the benefit of the doubt, Johnny, he's just back from an injury and so on. But there was a few moments in that game where just a smarter decision in the final third. There was one in particular where he could have slotted Kyogo in for a chance, but he had like a shot that ended up like a daisy cutter that just went all the ground into the keeper's hands. But obviously on Wednesday night he played, and he's the guy you're looking to make the differences. And I said it last time I did TNF. I felt like there was moments in his performance on Wednesday where he would take one step forward essentially, but then another step back with what he did next, what his next decision with the ball was, when he would win the ball back really well, very aggressive, but then he would look for too much of a Hollywood pass and just pass it right back to Lazio and basically negate all his good work. And it just felt like at times it's like Liam hit it on the head last night, I think, with the point he made. Maybe he is trying to just get himself in that shop window. He has made it clear about, he's looking at, bigger things in the future. Champions League is obviously the place to show that. And it's like, yeah, but for the greater good of the team, sometimes it's better to just go for the simple pass. And I was watching another pod this morning, another Celtic pod, and they brought up the point that does Hatate sit this game out tomorrow, maybe? Does Bernardo get a start? Because we've not seen enough of Bernardo yet. But when he did come on Wednesday night, I thought he looked okay, but we haven't seen enough to really judge him. Or do we just stick in there with Hatate? Because ultimately, playing Kilmarnock and playing Lazio, there is a vast difference. If he was to lose the ball against Kilmarnock, we're very likely to recover and not get punished on it. But obviously, when you're playing at Champions League level, careless passes, sloppy passes, you can easily get punished. But I would think Hatate will probably still start tomorrow, but I do see it starting to creep in now. A lot of people have been very critical of his games recently, and I've even seen other pods today discussing, is Hatate nailed on to start tomorrow? I would say he is. But what about you, Johnny? What do you feel with Hatate right now?
I don't know if he's nailed on to start tomorrow. I think Brendan is probably a bit more of he'll pick who's on the form, if you like, rather than he's one of my favourites, because I don't think Hatate is one of Brendan's favourites at the minute. I think there might be some not issues as such, but he's maybe not endeared himself to Brendan the way that some players might have done, and it might just be a case of saying, look, I'll tell you what, just going to draw you out of here for a bit, put you back in the bench, see how things are going, might bring you on in the second half, because we do need to see what some of these new guys have got.
Yeah.
And I hate saying, no disrespect to somebody, because that generally means that that's exactly what you are doing, disrespecting them. But I think at home against Kilmarnock, I'd like to see Bernardo, because I've not seen anything of him, to be fair.
Yeah.
So we've brought him in. He's just on a loan, isn't he? He's not.
He's on a loan with an option to buy, as far as I know.
Oh, he is. Right,
I believe he was. It was the night that we did the transfer, and me and David did it. We actually put on the yellow ties and everything.
Yellow tie day.
I asked, as we went on the air, that story was breaking, and I asked in the live chat, I said, is there an option to buy? And somebody did come in and say that it's been confirmed there is an option to buy. And I think it's a similar price to what we would have paid for Jota. And if this boy, coming from Benfica's youth ranks, is of a similar stock, then he's got to have something in his game, surely.
Well, you'd like to think so. If we've got an option to buy and we're looking to pay the same money as we paid for Jota, then I'd like to start seeing him on the park a bit more regular than he has been. And yeah, of course, some of that will be because I don't know what his fitness levels were like when he arrived. He signed on the last day of the season. So at home to Kilmarnock, full stadium, that's as good a time as any to say, I'll tell you what, we're going to give you a go. Let's obviously, I'd like to think that Brendan already knew what the guy was capable of before we signed him. Depending on how the transfer teams working these days. But if he wasn't, then he'll have seen what he can do between then and now, and get him on, give him a go. Bring Hatate back. Remember, Hatate had that, and I know it was put down to fatigue and all the rest of it, but when he first came to us, he started off like a house on fire, didn't he? And then the fire went out for quite a few weeks, and we were putting it down to fatigue. So
that's right.
Hatate, as Stephen Mack says, he's a class act. He is a class act, and what's the saying? Class is permanent, form is temporary.
Yeah,
he's maybe just having a dip and getting over things, getting over the injury, getting his head straightened out if it needed straightened out. But just bring him back a bit, put him back on the bench. Say, look, it's nothing to do with him, but I need to see this guy, and we need to see him competitive. Yeah, that's what it's down to. That's why Brendan's paid the money, though. That's make these decisions.
That's why we need to see him as well. So as fans right now, we can't possibly judge Bernardo, but I've seen Bernardo's name getting suggested. A lot of people coming in the chat and saying they would give Bernardo a game tomorrow, and agreeing that Hatate has been off it and so on. But one midfielder, Johnny, that hasn't been off it is Matt O'Reilly. Many people said that he would be the guy that would shine under Brendan Rodgers. He seems like a Brendan Rodgers type of guy, and it's worked out very well so far. There was the little subtle digs, or maybe more blunt force trauma to the face, depending on how you view it, with Matt O'Reilly's words during the summer when he was taking a few aims, I think, at Ange Postecoglou. Most people were reading into it going, seems like a bit of there's some issue there. But so far, other than the St Johnstone game where O'Reilly just had a bad day in front of goal, he has been consistently one of our best performers. That's the O'Reilly that we thought we would see in Ange's second season, because that first half season with O'Reilly, everyone's like, oh, that's a special talent we've got here. He's going to go on to bigger and better things. But it felt like he just stagnated for whatever reason last season. Maybe. And the weird thing was, I thought some of the best football he played last season was when he filled in for Callum McGregor at that sort of the number 6 role that they call it, the defensive midfielder. But yeah, when he was playing in sort of more normal position, trying to be more that box-to-box midfielder, he just wasn't really getting there, and took ages to get his first goal last season. I remember when he did score it against St Mirren, it was just a look of sheer relief when he scored and he celebrated, like, just so happy to get it off his shoulder, get the off his back. But this season, scoring, he could end up our top goal scorer at this rate. He's just like, he's definitely a good bet right now if you enjoy a wee punt at the bookies for anytime goal scorer. Because he's getting into those positions. He's doing the classic box to box, getting in there late runs and making sure he gets on the end of it, because he's so valuable right now too, isn't he, Johnny?
He is, and I'm going to be quite bold here in a minute. I think he'll be quite happy to stay with us for quite a few years. I think he could be the new Tom Rodgick, not just as in play, but as in, I think he'll stay for a long time, actually. Because I think he could have gone. I think, to be honest, I think not Rodgers, but I think the board, from what I've read in some online things in the papers, I think the board would have been quite happy to take the 10 million that Leeds were willing to pay on the last day of the season. There's a transfer window. And I think it was more he wanted to stay rather than leave. And possibly because, as we've said in the bus before, Brendan Rodgers is guaranteed to be here for the next 3 years. How could I develop in 3 years with him? That's what he's thinking, I think. And I think he could end up staying for more than the contract he's already signed. I think he could be a long-termer, one of the few long-termers. Unless some ridiculous money comes in from Saudi that they'll say, we'll give you £200,000 a week to sign, then we won't register as a player, so you can actually fucking play.
What a mess that is, for Jota. I see what you're saying there, because O'Reilly, it does feel like Brendan Rodgers has had that chat with him, sat him down and basically told him, this is what I see for you, this is what I envision, and the boy has he's listened and he's bought into it. Because I say his form this season has been phenomenal, other than like say one game, but no, he's consistently there, and I say he's a good bet right now for an anytime goal scorer. Then compared to last season, where he just wasn't really getting a sniff in front of goal. So it's really refreshing to see, because he is a very exciting player when he's on it. And I mean, through the week, the goal that he played his part in, the instant pass just into Maeda fading into him, just that first touch right into Kyogo's path, perfect weight on it, everything. just so quickly done, and it's just such a class player, mate. I love Matt O'Reilly, brilliant.
When you talk about that pass, when you talk about Hollywood, when you talk about Hollywood passes and the simple pass, that was both in one.
True, actually,
He made it look so simple. I'll be honest, I've said to you earlier on, I didn't see the game on Wednesday night because I was sitting at Heathrow Terminal listening to it on the radio because I couldn't get a link and I couldn't get to actually see the game. But I watched it earlier on tonight, and when I seen the pass, I thought that was so brilliant.
Yeah,
and yet so simple. I mean, it wasn't a 60-yard ball like Hitate's one was from a throw in and volleyed, which ultimately came to nothing. Didn't create anything at the end of the day. We didn't score off it, but that O'Reilly knew what he was doing with that ball before it reached him, and then he just made it look. He was just playing footy off a wall. Just put it through. Kyogo didn't have to do nothing, did he? Just hit it, ball in the net.
Yep.
So I said it was Hollywood and it was simple, and that's all you want.
That's it. See, as soon as he just laid that into his path, that was it. You just knew, you just felt it in the stadium as well. Because I know Kyogo last season had his moments in front of goal where he fluffed his chances, but there was just something about that one. The whole stadium just felt it was going in one place, and when he scored that, fantastic. But sadly, it didn't end the way we wanted it to, that one. But looking at the forwards, I say at the moment, when it comes to centre forward, we know Kyogo's nailed on because right now, a lot of people we owe. I know Mark's been very,
I'm gonna have to
very strong in that one.
You froze a bit there, Phil, and I missed a bit what you said there, to be honest with you, mate. Before you got to say about
Yeah, I was just saying, like with Kyogo, he's nailed on right now as a centre forward because, isn't really, I can't see him dispossessing him right now. And again, that goes back to what we talked about the transfer window. A forward was another thing. So many of us said we need to get just another body in there because right now the concern is if Kyogo goes down injured, you're like, do you trust O to play X amount of games? I know at the end of the day you can argue, well, we need to see him getting some consistent games and then we can properly judge him. I'll say a lot of fans have already made their mind up. So I know Marc Cairney has been very much like, no, this guy's terrible. But obviously the winger positions, Maeda, I thought that was one of the best performances he put in through the week there against Lazio. His involvement in the goal was just brilliant. How he just took the initiative, just took the game by the scruff of the neck, essentially, led to that goal. And I thought he troubled them massively. So I think at the moment, and Brendan, I think, shown with some of the stuff he said recently as well, when we went out to 10 men and stuff like against Motherwell, against was it Livy? Livy, sorry. I keep getting the Motherwell and Livy games round the wrong way.
Yeah.
Good. Against Livy, and it's he says, no, it's like, it's not like you've got 10 men because he's on the park, because he does the work of 2 men. But so he's got high praise there. But this other winger position now, Yang started on Wednesday night. I don't think he was up to much at all. Again, I still think it's too early to make a full judgment on him, but so far, I don't know. There was an early promise where I went, this guy's really good in terms of how direct he is. But on Wednesday night, he just wasn't clicking for him at all. Palmer came on. I thought Palmer looked lively. And obviously, he scored. And then, that high. In this, I'll tell you something, I didn't get to mention this last night. Being in the stadium, the come down from the goal getting disallowed was worse than the actual winner for Lazio. Because again, I felt like there was an apathy and inevitability, sadly, with that winner, where we just felt like we've seen this before. But that buzz of him scoring that goal, the celebrations, you just felt like we've got what we deserved. We're actually going to go on and win this, because had that stood, we were definitely going on to win the game. And then that killer of getting disallowed, and what a sinking feeling it was. And I say, when the goal actually went in for Lazio to win it, I felt like the reaction to that was a lot tamer than what it was to the goal getting disallowed for Palmer. So it was a weird feeling, that one. But I think overall, when you look at what he did against Motherwell, scoring the goal as well, that gave us the lead in that bonkers game. And then to do that as well, I think he looked lively, other than the disappointment having the goal disallowed. I think he's done enough right now to be the guy starting on the wing right now, because we did see a wild James Forrest appear against Livy out of nowhere. Obviously, Yang's been getting the start here and there. Palmer's had a couple of games here and there. So that position's still up for grabs. But right now, I'd say we are Badder out injured. I think it's Palmer's at the moment, his to lose. What about yourself when it comes to that winger position? Would you be leaning towards Palmer?
Yeah, I think so. Not that I've seen very much. We've seen him, a bit of him in the Motherwell game last week. You had me thinking Motherwell Livingston there, Phil, to be honest with you. But
yeah, you getting mixed up. It's weird.
from what I've seen of him last week, yeah. And again, it falls into the Bernardo scenario. We want to see what they've got, and at home to Kilmarnock, it's as good a time as any. Yeah. Just going back to the goal with Palmer, I was kind of made an arse of myself because I was watching the game down in the arrivals terminal at Heathrow, because it's the only place where I could get a seat next to a charger to keep my phone charged up and listen to the game. And when they said goal, I sort of jumped up in the middle of this terminal, like, you know, and I've got people looking around and saying, who's this nutter? And I'm thinking, all right, okay. And then, of course, to find out that I'd made an arse of myself for no real reason whatsoever. But, you know, I think
we've all been there, don't worry.
All been there, yeah. All been there, yeah. In the wrong end against Dundee United and things such as that back in the day, but never mind. Give Palmer. Let's see what he's got. He's the man that we reckon has been brought in to replace Jota.
Yeah.
So let's see what he's got.
Yeah.
And the strange thing is that I think Connor Carr mentioned it as well. He's meant to be a dead ball expert, isn't he?
Yeah, that's true. All his YouTube highlights were all like, you know, from
we don't have many of them. But what game was it? First game he played? We had a free kick outside the penalty box. I'm thinking to myself, let's see. And he was nowhere near it. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, something not right here. But let's see what he's got.
Yeah, because we haven't had a good free kick specialist in a good while, so it'd be quite handy to have that as a weapon. But yeah, go by his YouTube highlights. I know he shouldn't read too much into YouTube highlights, but yeah, he does look like he's a dead ball specialist. But if that's the case, then hopefully he can hit a good corner, because I am sick to the back teeth for Celtic not being able to clear the first man at a corner kick. So that would be really handy if he can deliver a good corner. Because, yeah, that is something we've got to utilise, especially when you're playing teams like Kilmarnock, Dundee, Motherwell, teams that come to Celtic Park and will sit with 10 men behind the ball. That's when you need your set pieces to be on point, because passing it sideways, looking for an opening, sometimes it just doesn't pay off. But sometimes when you put a perfect corner in, one of the big centre-backs comes up, nods it in, you know, gets a winning goal, whatever. You know, that's what you can utilise set pieces. But right now, whenever you get a corner, it's like, there's no point. There's just no point at all. The delivery is usually awful. So hopefully Palmer can be that guy that can do that. And the thing as well about his goal as well, one of the things that just was, other than the fact it was just gutting in general, but his celebrations were so good. I think he spammed every single celebration that you could do. He pulled even Messi's classic celebration out the bag when he took off his shirt and held it up to the back of it up to the crowd. And it was like, he did like 5 different celebrations in one, and then all for it just to be taken away from him. And it was like, oh man, what a kick.
Yeah, but see, that's the other thing, because Terry and Bhoys talked about it on PM. So his booking wasn't rescinded because he was called back for offside. But if it'd been something else, if it'd been a foul or whatever, he got booked for something else, that would have been, for example, against Livingston, Joe Hart got sent off. Now, had they called that back as offside, then the red card would have been rescinded.
Yeah. It's one of the weird rules, because I think taking your shirt off in general during the play is regarded as a yellow card offence. And even if it's like as a result of a goal being scored, which has now been disallowed.
Yeah, it's such a heinous crime, isn't it? You know?
Because what happened if that was a second booking for him and he got sent off as a result of it? What would then be the outcome there? So,
Or take it away from Celtic, because I know that the scenario I'm about to describe will never happen. Or I'd very much be more than surprised if it did. But what if players in that scenario, they accumulate enough bookings to get a suspension from a semi-final or something?
That's right. You can get that as well. So these are a bit of grey area, that one. So again, we need some clarification there, because when I saw people talk about that on Twitter, I was kind of like, look, man, the bigger picture, that's kind of minuscule. But no, what you're describing there is actually true. And again, when you think about the connotations, what if it had led to a red card? What would happen then? That would be a bit unfair, wouldn't it? So there is some questions need to be asked about those type of rules. But We're more likely to get an answer out of a European referee or UEFA than we would if it happened in the SPFL, though, because as we've seen, I think they pretty much make the rules up as they go along. And hey, we even saw in England this past week that the VAR refs don't really know the rules of the Liverpool-Tottenham game because they released the audio from that one, and that was just baffling, absolute bemusement there.
But was that not that they didn't understand that they thought the referee hadn't given it or something stupid like that, wasn't it? And then by the time they realised the game had restarted with the goal standing, they said they couldn't stop it. I said, well, why couldn't they? Because nothing had happened that would have affected anything. Just say, whoa, wait a minute, stop.
Yeah. They brought up the picture and they drew the lines and you could see it was clearly onside. And then they just kind of, one of them just went, yeah, off. Good decision, guys. Well played there. Good process, boys. And then eventually one voice pipes up and he's like, guys, stop the game. It's like, stop the game. This is the guy who's calling from like the sort of like the ones above saying, guys, you need to stop the game now. But they just kind of bottled it. And it's like, oh my God, I don't know. So who knows what's going to say in Scottish ones? If that's what's happening in England, where we think they're a lot more competent, imagine what the discussions are like in the Scottish ones.
Yeah. When they've got something like 38, when they've got 38 cameras that are located in the correct positions in the Premiership, and we've got 6 that are located wherever they were able to fit them.
It's just, I know. It's just the discount version of VAR we've got up here in Scotland. But no, that in terms of like looking forward to the game and all that pretty much covers all the positions really. And so the only thing left really regarding the game is what do you think the score will be tomorrow then, Johnny? What's your prediction for that one?
I'm going for 4-0.
Oh, nice. I like it. Nice and
confident. I think I'm looking for a comfortable win tomorrow. 4-0.
Nice.
4-0. I'm not going to go as far as predict. I'll tell you what. My Ada hat trick. I'll have to keep David's tradition going. Like,
that's true. David does like to throw in a Maeda hat trick.
Like,
Yeah, he does. I'll go for 3-0 on this one. I'll go a wee bit more subdued than mine and go for a 3-0. I think if Palmer starts, I think he'll get a goal somewhere along the way. I feel like he's in a bit of form right now and the man of the moment essentially. So I'll go for that one. 3-0. Now, just before, I've got a wee thing we're going to end on, something you mentioned earlier on, brought it back in my head, we'll finish on. But before we get there, we'll just briefly touch on the European stuff. We don't need to go into great depth on the Lazio game, but just in general with the European competition and whatnot, there's 2 games down, it's 2 losses. We've now got a double header coming up against Atletico Madrid, Johnny. And I know, and I said it last night on TNF, obviously I was a bit downbeat about it, the way we'd lost and so on. I just felt like, well, we've lived this before. It's the same old story, hard luck. The same things were all coming up again where, we do really well. We actually have a game where we actually did put in the shift and we still got nothing from it. But now we head into the reality is we got no points from it. We now face Atletico Madrid and they are the kings of shithousery. They've also got Diego Simeone as a manager, long-term manager. Now he's been there for quite a while. He is the master.
11 years or something, isn't it?
Yeah, he's been there for quite a while. There's a lot of talk about him over the different years. But this was going to be his final year, and he was heading off to another club. But he's still there. I mean, to be fair, last year when in the Champions League, I was kind of hoping we would draw Atletico because I wanted to see Ange's style up against Diego Simeone's. But now, obviously, we have got them. To me, they are the best team in the group, even though they weren't in the top seeds. But again, it's due to the way UEFA do the seeding. It leaves us in a position now where we have to get something. And as I said last night, even though I was in the depths of despair after the Lazio game and kind of like furious at what had happened, I know that in 2 weeks' time, when this game rolls around, I'll be well up for that. I'll be like, come on, we can do this. Hopefully, it's not a repeat where I'm walking at the stadium again, going, can't believe this has happened to us again. Fingers crossed it doesn't. But ultimately, for the group, do you see us having any European football after Christmas at all, Johnny? Or do you think it's a busted flush already? No.
I think it's gone. I'm more pissed off about it this year than I was last year, because I think I watched the first game against Feyenoord out in Johannesburg, and I'm sitting watching it, and for 42 minutes I'm sitting there thinking, we ain't got anything to worry about here.
Yep.
I'm not saying I thought we were going to win it, but I didn't think we were going to lose it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And then what happened? Lagerbielke got himself sent off, harshly or not harshly, whichever way you want to look at it. Our biggest shock of that night was Joe Hart saving a penalty. But anyway,
it gets forgotten. Yeah, that's true.
yeah. And as soon as Holm got himself sent off for a ridiculous tackle, I thought, well, that's that ball burst completely. So, and on Wednesday night, as I said, I didn't see the game, but from what I listened and the way I listened to it, the way it went, the reports I've read, the brief highlights I've watched, we all know we were in with a chance of winning that. Maybe could have won it. So I'm more gutted about it this year than I was last year.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Celtic have done what Celtic do. They've led us along so far, and then they've dumped us, if you like. They've let us down, and we're just not quite there. We're not there and ready for that level. Connor made his views on it pretty clear last night, where he says we masquerade as a Champions League team, and we're probably fortunate to get there because of the league we play in, which we very often criticise. But yeah, no, I just don't see Europe after Christmas now, unfortunately. I think Brendan's grand plan to get us challenging in Europe might not have been a 12-month plan. It might be
that's true. People maybe
24-month plan.
Yeah. Aye.
So I don't But if that was the case, then that should have been clarified a little bit more. The way it was put across to us on his unveiling was Europe this time.
Yeah. Oh, he'll be acutely aware, as like say on the bus. So surely he would have been smart enough to know that that's what people are reporting it as. You would think that he would then do something to kind of say, no, that's not quite what I said, guys. Or, that's not quite what I meant. But he didn't. So.
But we're football fans, Phil, and that's the way we're going to take it.
Exactly. Yeah, we are. Because again, we're like going into this season, with him saying that, and again, I thought, well, if we finish third in the group, and then you see the group we draw, and you think, well, okay, we've got a chance of getting third, because this is the last year you'll ever get the opportunity if you're in the group stages to drop down to the Europa League. Because I'm smart enough to know that if we somehow sneak into the second round of the Champions League and get out of the group from first or second, we are literally making up the numbers, sadly. That is the reality. If we were to drop into Europa League, then maybe we've got a chance of beating a few teams along the way. But of course, the first thing we were looking to do was just win some knockout games, because we haven't done that. And it will be 20 years in February. February 2024 will mark the 20th year since we've last won a knockout game after Christmas in Europe, which is absurd to think. And if we're not going to have any European football this year, there isn't going to be any knockout games to play. So the only way we're going to get this back on track is now we have to beat Atletico Madrid in one of these two games, and then Feyenoord in the last game, at home. We need to be looking at something there, and looking to take something in either Rome or Madrid, and then hope that maybe 7 points would be enough. But we need to get the points on the board first, and the way things are going, who knows what's going to happen with that one. But it's really depressing, because again, you look at the way the two games played out, Johnny, you're right about the Feyenoord game and that game on Wednesday night, and it's one of those, what could have been, what really could have been when you think about it.
The thing is, Phil, when I looked at it before a ball had been kicked, and you said, which away game do you fancy you could get a win? I fancied Feyenoord.
Feyenoord, yes.
That's when I went, that's when I thought we could get a win. And I know we beat Lazio, but that was 4 years ago. Different team for them and us. And I'm not saying that we won't win out in Lazio, but if I'd been forced to put some money on which one would you win away from home, it would have been
the Feyenoord,
without a doubt.
Yeah. I know, because I'm worried now that final game against Feyenoord in the group's going to be just a dead rubber. There's a good chance that we're out by that point, which I hope isn't the case, because I remember years ago I went to, it's a familiar feeling. We've had a few like that where we were out after like the fourth or the fifth game, essentially. But I remember we were playing Villarreal. We played Aalborg, Man United, and Villarreal, and it was just like, even though we beat Villarreal in the last group game, it was all for nothing, really, because we were already out at that point. That was the year we drew with Man United, and Aalborg beat us in Denmark. We drew 0-0 with Aalborg at Celtic Park, but yeah, it's really depressing going to like a Champions League game when you're a fight out. I know last year we went into the Shakhtar game in the last group game. There was still a chance that we could get through to the third place. I think it was. I think we were still playing for something that night. But we had to. Results had to go away as well. There was definitely something on the line in the Shakhtar game.
I can't remember what it was, but it was. It wasn't. It was as close to a dead rubber as you could get without it being a dead rubber, I think. To be fair, we had to win. I think we probably even had to win by a few goals, whatever it was. But yeah, but no, I just don't fancy our chances. Darryl might be right. We might win in Madrid, but lose at Parkhead. So
imagine that was the only win we got in the entire group. Imagine that we'd be Atletico Madrid and finish on 3 points, bottom of the group, but that's the only win we get. Somehow we win it in Madrid. Yeah. Just imagine that. That would just be just a typical Celtic story. But something I want to finish on, Johnny, you brought it up earlier on. You mentioned a name, and I thought it's a good thing because nobody's talked about this yet on the bus.
I was going to bring it up as well.
Tom Rogic retired this week, mate. What a player. What an absolute player. 30 years old, I believe he's retired at as well.
He is, huh?
Yeah, I know. Very early for a football. You see the age that some players are playing to nowadays. I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo's 38. He's still going. Ibrahimovic played till he was 41. Gianluigi Buffon was playing up till recently. He was 45, but obviously goalkeepers do play a bit longer. But yeah, 30 in the end. But what a time he had at Celtic. And it's weird because there was a point in time where had he left just prior to, I think, when Ronnie Dyler got appointed, nobody would have batted an eyelid. He was there for a year. He got loaned back to a club in Australia under Neil Lennon.
He did,
and he came back, and Ronnie Dyler gave him a chance in Ronnie's second season, and he sort of just kicked on from there. But Brendan then took him to the next level. That's another one that Brendan elevated. But again, you just look back. I mean, I know it's hard to say, but favourite Tom Rogic moment without saying the cup final against Aberdeen? Trying without saying that, is it even possible to pick a favourite moment?
Well, first of all, I was going to mention Rogic tonight because I think anybody who's on the bus and anybody who's ever watched the bus knows that I absolutely love Tom Rogic. I think he's he's not a legend. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to go as far as to say he's a legend because he was a great player who gave us great memories. And for you to try and get us to pick one and exclude that one is more than naughty, to be fair. So strange enough, I think I might go with two. I'm trying to decide which goal because his numerous goals against Rangers, the goal he scored against Dundee United when he just got the ball out on the wing and just drifted in and drifted past everybody and then just stuck it away with such ease.
Right,
that was absolute classic. The Kilmarnock Thunderbolt under Ronnie.
I love that one. Love that goal.
That's the next one I was coming to. Steve O'Mac was the curler into the back of the net as he landed. He broke David.
Doing all that, running by the Copeland Road end. Just kind of use now.
Yeah. So there's far too many to mention. But yeah, one of the other memory that will stay with me forever with him, to be fair, is his last day coming off the park. I remember saying to David on a text message, I hope Ange takes him off in the 60th minute, because that was the joke, wasn't it? He could only do 60 minutes. I think it might have been Mark had said he was he had the heart of a lion and the lungs of a mouse or something like that. I can't remember because he just couldn't last more, But he played, he played more 90 minutes than people think. But when he came off the park, I think that I was about as emotional as he was, and I hadn't felt that since Henrik, when Henrik went off and went. I just loved him. I just thought the skill he had when he was on it, when he was at the top of his game. I just thought he was phenomenal. I just loved the guy. And I think if you want to be harsh about it, you could say, well, he retired when he signed for West Brom. Although my brother-in-law's brother-in-law is a big West Brom fan, and the short time he spent at West Brom, he loved him. He thought he was fantastic. He scored some fantastic goals. He scored at least 2. He did play an awful lot of games for West Brom. But he said, oh, he's brilliant. You see this goal he scored for West Brom? I said, said, mate, have a look at a few Celtic goals he scored, and that's fuck all compared to what he's for that.
Yep.
But he was phenomenal, and for the short time he was there, he loved him. But I think he's retiring for the right reasons. You know, the reasons he's retiring he's obviously made enough money that keeps him happy.
Yeah, of course.
And he wants to spend time with a family he's had a lot of problems having, which, because he was such a private individual, you never knew nothing about Tom Rogic. The only thing you knew about Tom Rogic was he either played on Saturday or he didn't. He either played and scored on Saturday or he didn't. You knew nothing else about him. You never heard anything about him in the papers.
Yep. Very quiet man.
Very quiet man, very personal, private life. And he's struggled to get to have the family that he's got. He's the one child he has and the twins that he's now expecting. And he just wants to spend time with them. And fair play to the guy.
Yeah,
and
fair play.
I'm sure he'll be more than happy to come to visit Celtic Park. We'll be more than happy to have him there. And I'd just love to get him on the bus.
Yeah, go on, Tom. Jump on the bus, mate. Cause no fuss. Oh, that would be something. People are obviously bringing up in the chat about the goal against Aberdeen. Also, I was just going to be a bit of tongue in cheek with that one, you know, because it's like
that was going to be too easy, because that was the greatest memory he could have given us. But
I know. I mean, I was fortunate to be there that day in the stadium, and I think I said it before on the bus. Everyone talks about the lightning bolt. There's a story about a lightning bolt that some people claim to have seen. I definitely saw it, and I know that because I actually blinked briefly and missed the ball hitting the back of the net. Because as he picked up the ball 40 yards for goal and went on that run, and I think it's like, say it's Shinnie, whoever Aberdeen midfielder is backing off him, and he goes by him. And Andy Considine's the last defender in front of him. Just as he gets by Considine, he pulls his leg back to shoot. There was a flash of lightning across the sky towards the side that Tory Glen is at, the Tory Glen Football Centre. And so, because I was sitting in the south stand looking that way, and I looked up briefly to see the lightning bolt. And when I looked back down, the net was rippling and he's running away celebrating. So that's how I know for definite that the lightning bolt definitely happened. It's one of these ones that people claim they saw it, they didn't see it, and they're like, "Oh, that can't be true. That's too much of a fairy tale." But hey, Billy McNeil did say there is a fairy tale about this club at times. There really is, and I swear to God, because I know for a fact I missed the goal for a brief second because it hit the back of the net, and I was looking up the way and then looked back down, but the bedlam in the stadium when that went, oh my God. And
bedlam in my living room when it went in.
Oh God. And the celebrations with Craig Gordon, the image of Gordon down on his knees, just absolutely elated that had gone in. Oh my God. Brilliant.
But when you talk about the favourite moments, there was one of the goals he scored, it was against Rangers. I can't remember what game it was. It was one of the 4 or 5-1 wins when there was a bit of a ping pong in the ball in the penalty box.
Yes.
And it came out to him and he just stroked it in from just the D.
Yeah.
Now, what makes it a favourite for me is my stepson, we were sitting, he doesn't watch football, and he said to me, he says, "Oh, I've got a couple of quid in my Sky Bet account." He said, "What bet shall I put on?" And I said, "Rogic to score from outside the box." He went, "Do you reckon?" I said, "Guarantee it, does it every time."
Yes.
So he stuck whatever it was there on it. And I'm not saying he didn't win a fortune, but instead he went from something having like £2 or £3 in his Sky account to having something like 30 or 40 quid. So he was quite happy. So for that, I'll make that one of my favourite moments just for that reason and that reason alone. But
that was the 5-0 game that we won the league. He scored against Rangers in every game he played that season, and he's a midfielder. He played 5 times against them and scored 5 times, I believe it was, or maybe it was 4. But every game he played against them that season, he scored.
That's right,
Just big game player for it, and he terrorised them under Brendan Rodgers. He was absolutely phenomenal. That was the peak of him. You know, was he in Manchester? We get the best of Rogic. We really did. You know, he was.
Yeah, definitely did. I would say he's a great player for Celtic. A Celtic great, just didn't quite get to legend level.
Yeah,
but I absolutely love the guy.
Yeah, his highlight reel is phenomenal. I was saying earlier on about YouTube highlights. So you put his YouTube highlights together, Jesus Christ. And who knows? I mean, there you go. I mean, it's a Friday night and I'm on. I had to do some sort of time travelling, I guess. There was a wee brief look back at Tom Rogic. But maybe somewhere down the line, maybe I'll do a more extensive Tom Rogic Bustalgia episode, maybe, because I do like to do a player one from time to time. And of course, myself and Johnny, we are looking to get one sorted regarding the centenary season, which we've been looking to do for a while.
Wednesday night.
Wednesday, that's a good shout to me. I wasn't doing the COVID trilogy, but I'm happy to put that one back, part 3 of the COVID trilogy. To do that, I'm more than happy. Don't worry, we'll do the centenary season, mate. Because
I know I'm definitely available on Wednesday because I'm off. Yeah,
that's fine with me.
I'm definitely available Wednesday, so I think I could either do Wednesday or the following week, whichever one suits you best. If you want to get the COVID one out of the way, then we can do the centenary one after it. It's up to I'll leave it up to you, mate.
No. The final part of it is the Ange Postecoglou coming in to save the day that season, which they say can wait. That's absolutely fine. We all know how that one ended and so on. And besides, if you want to just go on to the channel and just go back to PMPs from that season, because that's when the channel launched, then there you go. We've got pretty much that season covered. But no, we will do an extensive Bustalgia episode on season 20, 21, 22, and Ange coming in and say that's part 3 of the COVID trilogy. But yes, Johnny Logue will be available to do the centenary season, which I've been dying to do for ages. So it'll be an education for me. I was born in 1985, but way too young to know what was even going on with that. But I've seen plenty of the archive footage. I'm particularly looking forward to talking about a certain game at Ibrox that was Bedlam, where I think 3 players were sent off, and Graham Roberts was the conductor, I believe he was known as for the day. Frank McAvenny and Terry Butcher and Chris Woods.
I think you'll find a fine, upstanding gentleman. I think you'll find the courts proved.
Well, the court battle as well. They couldn't beat us on the park, and they couldn't beat us off the park that season as well.
That's the one.
Yeah. Looking forward to talking about that. So that'll be coming up midway through next week. And it's also going on a national break as well. So that's something to look forward to. But yeah, as of this weekend, tomorrow, Russell and Terry will be on as usual for the PMP after the Killie game. Hopefully it's another 3 points, putting the pressure on the noisy neighbours across the river. Just force it on them as much as possible, because they've got a rather tricky tie on Sunday. It's second against third on Sunday, so we'll see what comes of that one. But yeah, it's up to us first and foremost to get the points on the board, make it as difficult for them as possible. So yeah, hopefully tomorrow we're talking about a nice Celtic victory heading into this international break. And tune in tomorrow then and catch Russell and Terry, and we will be back. I'll be back on whenever I'm next on. Who knows? Maybe Monday Club when I'll do the question at the end with the boys. But yeah, Johnny, it's good to have you on tonight, mate. It's good to see you this fine Friday night. That's been a good hour and 7 minutes we've done there. Just flew in again as always. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Just remember, hit that like button on the way out. It helps us out massively. And we will catch you all later. If you're going to the game tomorrow, remember an umbrella. Apparently it's going to be torrential rain tomorrow. And hopefully we're celebrating and saying you enjoy the game and we celebrate a victory. So we'll catch you all later, folks. See yous.
Cheers, folks.